Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Larson Health Podcast. I'm your host, Kim Larson. I'm a certified integrative nutritionist and a certified Fast Like a Girl coach. Today, we are going to dive deep into a topic that I see in my practice almost every single day, type 2 diabetes, and more importantly, what's actually going on before that diagnosis ever happens. This show is made possible by our amazing sponsors and by LarsonHealthWeightLoss.com, where you can get access to free blood sugar friendly recipes, hormone support fasting guides, and coaching tools that actually help you reverse disease, not just manage symptoms. If you're ready to take the next step toward healing, head to LarsonHealthWeightLoss.com now and book a discovery call with me. Now, if you're new to this podcast, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. My mission is simple. It's to help you reverse chronic disease, especially insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. Using food as medicine and metabolic strategies that are backed by science, not just tradition. And I've had the privilege of working with thousands of people, many of them women and men in midlife, who were told by their doctors, "You're fine," when everything in their body was screaming otherwise. They were fatigued, they were craving sugar, they had weight that wouldn't budge, even with exercise. They had brain fog, they were struggling with depression or anxiety that felt metabolic, not just emotional. And they were told it was just stress or just hormones. Let me tell you, those are early signs of metabolic dysfunction. And the earlier you address it, the more reversible it is. So let's start at the root. What is type 2 diabetes? Most people think type 2 diabetes is about blood sugar. The glucose goes too high. You need meds to get to bring it down. That's the version many of us grew up hearing, but that's not exactly where the problem starts. So the root cause of type 2 diabetes is something called insulin resistance. So let me break that down in plain language. Insulin it's a hormone made by your pancreas. Its job is to act like a key. It unlocks the cells to let sugar or glucose in. You eat a meal, your blood sugar goes up, your pancreas releases insulin, and your cells open the door to let the sugar in. That's what's supposed to happen. But with insulin resistance, those doors, they start to get rusty. Your cells stop listening to insulin. They become resistant to it. So your pancreas tries to compensate by making more and more insulin just to do the same job. It's like turning up the volume on a speaker because the audience isn't listening. And this can go on for years, sometimes even decades, before your blood sugar actually becomes high. You might look normal on paper until you dig deeper. Let me give you a story. This one still sticks with me. The case study, let's call her Mary. She was 52. Mary came to me exhausted. She wasn't overweight. She exercised 3 times a week. She didn't eat a ton of sugar, but she couldn't lose the 10 pounds around her middle, no matter what she did. She craved carbs, especially in the afternoon. She was moody, wasn't sleeping well. She felt like her brain was wrapped in cotton. Her doctor told her everything was fine. Her A1C was 5.6. That's technically normal. Her cholesterol was borderline, but not concerning. Here's what most people miss. A1C is a trailing indicator. It's an average of your blood sugar over the past 3 months, but it doesn't show what your insulin is doing. So working with her doctor, we ran a fasting insulin test, which most conventional doctors don't even order, and it came back at 17. Now, for reference, healthy fasting insulin should be between 2 and 5. Anything above an 8 signals some level of insulin resistance. At 17, Mary's pancreas was working overtime just to keep her blood sugar in normal range. So that's like driving with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake and wondering, why is your engine burning out? So here's the science behind it. According to a study published in Cell Metabolism 2021, insulin levels often rise 10 years before blood sugar goes. Elevated insulin, even with normal glucose, was linked to higher inflammation, higher triglycerides, and higher risk of fatty liver and heart disease. Let me translate that. You could be walking around thinking your labs are fine while your body is quietly setting the stage for diabetes, fatty liver, and heart disease. So let's go deeper into Mary's case. Once we saw the elevated insulin, we put together a plan. First, we swapped her breakfast from fruit and low-fat yogurt, which spikes blood sugar, to a protein-forward meal. She started eating 2 eggs cooked in avocado oil, half a cup of sauteed spinach, half an avocado, herbal tea with a little collagen protein added in. We shortened her eating window to 10 hours, eating between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m., giving her pancreas a break overnight. And we added magnesium glycinate at night to help her sleep and improve insulin sensitivity. Within 6 weeks, her fasting insulin dropped to 9. Her cravings were gone. She said, and I quote, "I feel like myself again." That's what happens when we listen to the early signs. So let's talk about why so many women are missed. Women are often underdiagnosed in this space because we don't always present with the typical signs of diabetes. We might not have a high blood sugar, but we do have mood swings, the fatigue, the hormonal chaos, the stubborn weight, and the stress. Did you know women are 3.5 times more likely to be insulin resistant in midlife than men? And 2 times more likely to be prescribed antidepressants? And much more likely to carry the emotional and invisible labor of their households. We've even been called society's shock absorbers. During COVID, all of that got worse. Stress went up, sleep went down, we were eating more processed foods, and we weren't moving as much. And guess what happens when stress goes up? Cortisol goes up. And cortisol makes you more insulin resistant. So connecting the dots, insulin, cortisol, estrogen. When cortisol is high and estrogen low, hello, perimenopause, you become more insulin sensitive to blood sugar swings. This means insulin resistance becomes easier to develop and harder to spot. I've had clients who looked healthy, ate salads, still had fasting insulin in the double digits. And once they switch to eating raw, steamed, or roasted vegetables first, then eat your protein, adding healthy fats like avocado, extra virgin olive oil, gently, so meaning fast for 10 or 12 hours at night to give your body a rest, and supporting their stress by breathing exercises, meditation, or yoga, and lifting weights 2 to 3 times a week. This is so important as we get older. Their insulin dropped, their energy returned, and their cravings vanished. So what does the science say? Let's talk numbers for a second. A 2022 meta-analysis published in Frontiers in Endocrinology found that intermittent fasting reduced fasting insulin by 13.25 international units per milliliter and reduced HOMA-IR, which is a measure of your insulin resistance, by 0.31 points, and lowered blood sugar, blood pressure, and body fat significantly in as little as 8 weeks. Another study in Nutrients showed that women who consumed 30 to 35 grams of protein at breakfast had better insulin control throughout the day, even if they didn't change their total calorie intake. These are not extreme measures. These are evidence-based, sustainable strategies that work with your biology. So let's define some of these terms in plain English. So fasting insulin measures how insulin in your body is making when you haven't eaten. So how much insulin your body is making when you haven't eaten. So high levels mean your body is fighting to keep blood sugar stable. So A1C, this is an average of your blood sugar over the last 2 to 3 months. It doesn't show insulin resistance until much later. HOMA-IR, this is a score that tells us how resistant your cells are to insulin. A low score means your body is responding well. A high score means your cells are ignoring insulin. Cortisol, this is your stress hormone. It raises your blood sugar when you're under pressure, emotional or physical. Chronic stress equals chronic insulin spikes. Let me give you another quick story. We'll talk about Carlos, age 58. Carlos was on insulin for 5 years. He was told he'd never get off of it. He was tired, he was frustrated, ready to give up. We ran his insulin, A1C, triglycerides, ALT, which is a liver enzyme, and his CRP, inflammation marker. All were elevated. We built him a personalized plan, which was high fat, low carb, Mediterranean style diet with fasting window of 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating. a 20-minute walk after dinner, and daily lemon water, magnesium, and alpha lipoleic acid. We focused on sleep and stress. He cut his nightly news time by half and replaced it with 10 minutes of breathing before bed. In 6 months, his A1C dropped from 8.2 to 5.9, and his insulin was cut in half. Carlos was off insulin and taking only metformin. He lost 22 pounds and said, "I feel like I got my life back." In 1 year, Carlos was off of the metformin, thriving with doing more workouts, and he was feeling so much better without medications. And truly making dietary changes that made a difference all on his own as his taste buds changed and he enjoyed fresh foods and could start adding in potatoes and all fresh vegetables again. This episode is made possible by our incredible sponsors and powered by Larson Health Weight Loss, where real health conversations happen every week. Be sure to visit LarsonHealthWeightLoss.com to grab your free fasting guide, blood sugar-friendly recipes, and learn more about how I help people reverse insulin resistance using food, not prescriptions. That's LarsonHealthWeightLoss.com. So in this segment, we're going to go beyond the what of insulin resistance. We're diving into the how of reversing it using smart labs, personalized nutrition protocols, targeted fasting, and actionable movement strategies. For anyone serious about reclaiming their metabolic health, this is where transformation begins. Reach out to me if you need help. You can reach me at LarsonHealthWeightLoss.com or call in today and ask your questions. So running the right labs, discover what's under the surface. That's step one. Most conventional labs show fasting blood sugar and A1C, but that's like looking at just the tip of the iceberg. To understand the full scope, we need to look deeper into the markers. Fasting insulin, the target is 2 to 5 international units per milliliter. So it's 1/millionth of an international unit is what it is. 2 to 5, 1/millionth of an international unit. I'm probably getting into way too many technical numbers here. A high number is an 8. A red zone is a 15. So plain English, testing your fasting insulin is like checking how loud your engine is struggling when idling. A quiet idle, which is low insulin, is normal. When revved up, high insulin means your metabolism, is working too hard. HOMA-IR, homocysteine metabolic assessment of insulin resistance is what it stands for. Just know this is a measure of insulin resistance. There's a whole formula in here. I'll put it into the show notes, but you don't need to know all that. So it gives a single score for how resistant your body is to insulin. Triglycerides to HDL ratio. So why does this matter? If your triglycerides are high and your HDL, which is your good cholesterol, is low, that ratio is high. Anything between 1.5 shows metabolic trouble and metabolism isn't clearing fats well. ALT or alanine aminotransferase, a little liver enzyme. High ALT often means fatty liver disease, which is an organ-based form of insulin resistance. And HSCRP, which is high sensitivity C-reactive protein, it's an inflammation marker. About 2 indicates chronic ongoing inflammation. It's also part of metabolic syndrome. Multi-year NIH study found that even with normal blood sugar, high fasting insulin predicted metabolic syndrome, heart disease, and progression to diabetes over time. Insulin resistance is the first domino to fall. If you're tracking just glucose A1 or A1C, you're already behind. It's like noticing a flat tire after you've been driving on the rim, if you know what that means. So let's look deeper with some real client stories. I'm going to call this client Jasmine. She was 48. She was a vegan turned rebalanced. Jasmine had been vegan for 10 years. She felt great short term, but over time, afternoon fatigue, weight creeping up around her middle, sugar cravings after dinner despite no meat or dairy. Her labs, her fasting insulin was 22. Her glucose 98 milligrams per deciliter, which was normal. Her HOMA-IR 5.3, which is high risk. Her triglycerides to HDL ratio was 2.1, which is elevated. Her ALT was 45, which was slightly high. And what we did, one was we did protein plus fat at every meal, tofu, tempeh, plant-based protein powder, avocado, non-starchy vegetables, no peas, white potatoes, or carrots, added fermented foods like kimchi and kefir. And then The fasting window was 14 hours. So 14 hours of fasting, 10 hours of eating over 4 weeks. And why does it matter? Switching to plant-based is great, but nutrient density matters. Without fat or protein at breakfast, she had massive insulin spikes from toast, oatmeal, and fruit. We replaced that with 20 to 30 grams of plant protein, healthy fats, and slow carbs. Results after 10 weeks, insulin down to a 9, HOMA-IR improved at 2.2 points, belly fat reduced, and nighttime cravings are gone. So the science behind it. A 2022 nutrients study found that 30 grams of protein at breakfast compared to 10 grams of carbs reduced insulin response by 40%. Your body had the nutrients it needed, so it didn't overreact to sugar. Another case study is Tom. He was 55. He's a busy executive. Tom constantly worked long hours, snacked on granola bars, and barely moved. He didn't feel sick, but he had 20-pound weight gain, afternoon brain fog, blood pressure creeping upward. His labs, his fasting insulin was 15, which normal is 3.9 to 5.6. His glucose was 110. A healthy fasting insulin is generally considered to be less than 10. An HbA1c of 5.9%, which is a blood test that reflects the average blood sugar levels over the last 2 to 3 months. HOMA-IR was a 4. This calculation, again, used to assess insulin resistance from fasting glucose and insulin levels in your blood work. And a CRP was 3.2, which is the C-reactive protein, and it's a substance produced by the liver in response to inflammation. So a CRP test measures the level of this protein in your blood, and elevated levels can indicate inflammation from various causes such as infection, autoimmune diseases, or even heart disease. So let's go into a little bit about the ALT55, which is the alanine aminotransferase. It's an enzyme primarily found in the liver. When liver cells are damaged, they release ALT into the bloodstream, causing elevated levels. Therefore, ALT levels in blood tests are often used to assess liver health and detect liver damage or disease. So the plan that we had for him was to low-carb Mediterranean diet, wild salmon, pasture-raised eggs, extra virgin olive oil, organic greens and nuts. He did a 14-10 fasting from 7 p.m. to 9 a.m. eating window, or that was a fasting window. It was a 7 p.m. to 9 a.m. And then 15-minute brisk walks after meals. He started weight training with resistant bands for 3 times per week. His eating routine for stress was 10 minutes of meditation and chamomile tea. And why it matters. Tom didn't need to lose 100 pounds. He just needed consistent metabolic resets. Eliminating processed snacks like the granola bars, eating protein and fat to reduce sugar cravings, movement after meals, and stress reduction. The results after 4 months, his fasting insulin was 7, his HOMA-IR 1.8, his A1C 5.5, his CRP 1.1, his ALT was 35, and he had a 15-pound weight loss. So what's the science behind it? The 2020 time-restricted feeding study showed a 20 to 30% reduction in fasting insulin and improved blood pressure using a structured 8 to 9 hour eating window without calorie counting. So eat whatever you want between the 8 to 9 hour eating window and without counting calories. If you eat the right food, though, you never have to count calories, as you won't be hungry. So if you're eating protein and healthy fats, and not eating processed junk food like SpaghettiOs and raviolis and chips and soda pop, you won't be hungry all the time, spiking your glucose levels. Your body needs about 3 to 4 hours to digest your food. And if you're eating all the time, your digestion system doesn't get time to rest. Hence why fasting is so important, and eating the right foods to help you feel more satisfied and satiated. Let me talk about another case study of, I'll call her Laura. She was 39. She had PCOS and polycystic ovarian syndrome, plus blood sugar struggles. Her polycystic ovarian syndrome often includes insulin resistance. Laura experienced intense period cramps, mood swings, and carb addiction. Her fasting insulin was 18. Her glucose was 100 milligrams per deciliter. Her HOMA-IR was 4.4. Her triglycerides, HDL ratio was 3, and her testosterone was higher than normal. Her HSCRP was 2.5, and the plan that I set up for her was a hormone-targeted nutrition, balanced protein, fat, and non-starchy vegetables. We put her on a berberine supplement to support insulin signaling, and we put her on her fasting schedule. We followed her monthly period schedule and fasted according to her period schedule, with longer fasting during her power phases and hormone feasting when hormones are low. The light resistance training also with 20 plus minutes of daily walks. Results at 3 months. Laura's fasting insulin dropped to a 9. Her HOMA-IR was 2. Her triglycerides ratio was 1.4, and she has far less menstrual pain, energy and craving stabilized. And so what's the science behind it? A 2019 PubMed study found berberine reduced HOMA-IR by 35% in women with PCOS, matching the effectiveness of metformin without digestive side effects. So practical lab strategy for listeners: ask your provider for fasting insulin, fasting glucose, A1C, triglycerides and HDL for the ratio, ALT, HSCRP, optional fasting cortisol, DHEAS, ferritin for stress and iron. Track those numbers monthly as you implement diet, fasting, exercise, and stress support, or as often as you can with your doctor. Nutritional strategies: break it down. Protein plus fat. Focus 30 to 40 grams of protein at every meal. So whatever your target weight is, you should be getting 1 gram of protein per pound of your ideal body weight. My ideal body weight at 5'7", I'm 150. I should be getting 150 grams of protein a day. Healthy fats: avocado, MCT oil, extra virgin olive oil, extra virgin coconut oil, pasture-raised eggs, fatty fish like salmon, sardines, mackerel, nuts and seeds, grass-fed ghee and butter. These are all healthy fats. And why? Because these all prevent insulin spikes and keep you full longer. So I like to eat half an avocado at least every day, if not throughout the day, a whole avocado. So carb timing. Morning carbs: stick to low glycemic organic berries, lentils, or sweet potato. Evening move carbs to post-exercise. Avoid starchy carbs at night. No potatoes, peas, or carrots. And then eating example day. So breakfast: get like 2 eggs or 3 eggs, sauteed onions and peppers, and some avocado. And then lunch might be like a grilled chicken or grilled salmon with mixed greens and extra virgin olive oil dressing, with your vinegar of choice. So maybe balsamic or red wine vinegar of choice. Add some spices that you like. No sugar, but some spices. And then dinner might be like salmon and some roasted broccoli and quinoa. So here's the fasting framework to help you understand it. So 12-hour fast, dinner might be 7 p.m., breakfast at 7 a.m. A 14-hour fast with a 10-hour eating window, ideal fasting window for most people. So eat within a 10-hour window and then stop eating. Don't snack, don't taste, nothing. Drink water with electrolytes. And then a 16-8 fast, which is you have an 8-hour eating window. You don't snack or anything after that 8 hours. Eat as much as you want in that 8 hours, and then you don't eat. You just drink water or coffee or tea with nothing in it for the next 16 hours. But watch your hormones and symptoms. See how you feel. A 24-hour fast is more an advanced technique. It's only safe in environments and with support. If you want to try a 24-hour fast, give me a call. If you're nervous about a 16-8, reach out to me and I can help. So here's a simplified explanation. So fasting lowers your insulin by giving your body rest periods. It's like turning metabolic pressure off by giving your pancreas, liver, and gut a break. You turn on autophagy around 17 hours, and it continues through 72 hours. Now, I don't recommend that you do a 72-hour fast other than maybe twice a year. And if you're going to do that, you're going to lose muscle. So you also need to make sure that you lift weights. Now, it's difficult to work out during a 72-hour fast. You can walk, take it easy, make sure you listen to your body and how you feel, but definitely take it easy during a 72-hour fast, and then start hitting the weights right afterwards. So this is a way to clean up old tired cells when you're fasting for 72 hours. Autophagy just cleans out all the old cells. Your body eats them up and digests them. At 36 hours, you start to turn on natural stem cell production. So people pay thousands of dollars for stem cells, and you can turn it on yourself at 36 hours. Movement also matters. So walk after meals, 10 to 15 minute walks within 30 minutes of eating lowers your glucose spikes. This is a walk around the block. Start somewhere. Just start. Maybe it's from this lamppost to that lamppost, or this mailbox to that mailbox, whatever. Just start. And then resistance training. Do body weight, do some push-ups, do some sit-ups, do some leg lifts, do some planks. Use bands if you have them. Use dumbbells at least twice a week. Check out LarsonHealthWeightLoss.com for workouts and recipes. So you can do also micro movements. Stand, stretch, move every hour. Stand up and do some air squats. Every hour, do 10 air squats. Stress movement, yoga walks, Tai Chi, breathing exercises, meditation support, all cortisol balance. So a 2023 diabetes and metabolic syndrome study, adding resistance training, improved fasting insulin by 25% over 12 weeks. So here's some quick takeaways. Running Advanced Labs gives you a clear metabolic support card. So getting protein and healthy fats at every meal stabilizes glucose. Smart fasting windows support insulin health. Movement is essential. Post-meal walks and resistance shift your metabolism. This is real. It's sustainable. It's science-backed protocol. And now let's continue the conversation into our next segment. So, you can check out, I'm grateful for my sponsors, and check out LarsonHealthWeightLoss.com for free tools, recipes, and community support. They're all waiting for you there. Check it all out to get yourself healthy. So welcome back to our podcast. We're now in segment 3 talking about Diabetes Decoded. And this portion is all about breaking down the barriers, both mental and medical, that keeps people from actually reversing insulin resistance. So we're going deep on myths, mindsets, mental health, and real transformations with real people, so you know this works. So here's myth busting 1. Common misbeliefs holding you back. We've heard these 1,000 times, but let's address them head on. So myth 1, I'm thin, so I'm safe from diabetes. This is the biggest myth of all. Being a size 6 doesn't protect you from metabolic damage. In fact, many thin people are what we call TOFI, thin outside but fat inside. A study in metabolic syndrome and related disorders showed that people with normal BMI but with visceral fat around their organs had higher insulin resistance than overweight individuals without visceral fat. In simple terms, it doesn't matter how you look in jeans. If your internal organs are surrounded by fat, your insulin is stressed and your metabolism is off. You won't always see it, but your body tells the truth with lab results. Myth 2, fruit is always healthy. Eat all you want. Here's the deal. Fruit has vitamins and fiber, but it also has fructose, a type of sugar processed almost entirely by your liver. If you're insulin resistant, that fructose can overload your liver, raise triglycerides, and worsen insulin resistance. Avoid bananas, grapes, pineapples, mangoes, dried fruit, which is really high in sugar, and fruit juices. Even no sugar added juices. Your better options are low glycemic fruits like berries, green apples, pears, kiwi. Obviously eat them in moderation, always with protein and fat. Like in the morning, I will have a organic yogurt with some cottage cheese, a pasture-raised cottage cheese. Then I'll put in some blueberries and strawberries, avocado, and some nuts and seeds. And that would be my breakfast. And that's very filling. Myth 3, I'll just take the meds. Diabetes will be managed. Medications like metformin, SGLT2 inhibitors, it is a protein found in the kidneys that helps the body reabsorb glucose, sugar from the urine back into the bloodstream. And GLP-1 agonists can help, but they don't reverse metabolic dysfunction. They treat symptoms by reducing blood sugar output or absorption, and many of these drugs have side effects that can be life-threatening. What studies show? Metformin helps with insulin production, but it doesn't reset insulin sensitivity long-term. Lifestyle interventions have better long-term outcomes, including reversal and medication cessation. Meds help, lifestyle heals. Myth 4, diabetes runs in my family. There's nothing I can do. Genetics matter, but so does environmental interaction. Epigenetics show that 80 to 90% of type 2 diabetes risk is modifiable. Think of your genes as the load in your fishing reel. It's what you were given. Lifestyle is the rod and will determine where the line goes. The mindset shift is not your fault. It's your biology. Many people who hear insulin resistance still blame themselves. They feel judged. They feel like they failed. But diabetes isn't a moral failing. It's a signal your body is sending, telling you it's overwhelmed by sugar, stress, and inflammation. So here's a positive reframe. Your body wants to heal. The cravings, the fatigue, the belly fat, the brain fog, the blood pressure, the blood sugar, these are all breadcrumbs, not shame. Let me give you a deep dive case study of caller Allison. She was 45, she had PCOS and sugar struggles. Her background, Allison felt like she was battling her own body. PCOS meant irregular cycles, mood swings, and stubborn weight. She was stressed at work, emotional at night, and felt like she'd always be stuck in battling carbs. Her labs, her fasting insulin was 18, her glucose was 105, her HOMA IR was 4.7, triglycerides to HDL ratio was 3.5, her CRP was 2.2. So symptoms, she had sugar crashes mid-afternoon, she had low energy, she had terrible PMS, and sleep struggles. So what did we do? We gave her protein and healthy fat first at each meal. So 30 to 35 grams of protein, like scrambled eggs and avocado for breakfast, tuna salad with extra virgin olive oil and mixed greens for lunch, beef stir fry with broccoli for dinner, a consistent eating window of 10 hours eating, 14 hours fasting, except during heavy cycle periods, herbal supplement of berberine, 500 milligrams with meals to improve insulin signaling, and mindful movement, 15 minutes walk after lunch, and 3 at-home resistance sessions weekly. Set weekly gratitude journaling, plus 5 minutes of breathing before bed. The outcome in 12 weeks, her fasting went from 9 to 6, her HOMA IR from 4.7 to 1.7, her A1C from 5.9 to 5.4, her triglycerides to HDL ratio from 3.5 to 1.4. She said, for the first time in years, I don't feel like this is a diet. It feels like total freedom. So let's talk about another case study of David, 59. He was on insulin for 8 years. David had been on insulin 30 units nightly for 8 years. He felt exhausted, bloated, and discouraged. His doctor had already warned him he'd always need insulin. His insulin was around 30 international units per milliliter. His glucose was 160. His A1C was 8.3%. His ALT 80. His CRP was 4. His triglyceride ratio to HDL was 4. So we put him on a plan. We did plant-based forward, Mediterranean-style eating, salmon, legumes, extra virgin olive oil with some greens. 16-8 fasting window from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. was his eating window. Post-meal walks, 10 minutes after meals, and HIIT training twice per week, including sauna after workouts. Supplements, vitamin D, magnesium glycinate, alpha-lipoic acid. His sleep and stress, he had to remove the TV from his bedroom, plus a 10-minute guided meditation at night. And the results in 6 months? His A1C went from 8.5 to 5.7. His insulin dose went from 30 units to off entirely. His ALT from 80 to 30. His CRP 4 to a 1.2. He couldn't believe he got his place back. It's like he was 30 again. He felt unstoppable. So real science backing the transformation. There's a whole bunch of studies that I have that I've researched. I'll put those in the show notes so that you can see them. But simplifying this scientific terms, let's unpack some of the labs terms into everyday language. So HOMA-IR is how stubborn your cells are about listening to insulin, and the lower the better. So triglycerides to your HDL ratio is a measure of how well your body processes fats. Too high equals fat buildup in the liver and arteries. And HSCRP equals inflammation tracker. High equals chronic stress and inflammation. And this could be from a lifestyle, it could be from job, it could be from your home, it could be from the chemicals that you work around. There's so many different things that are going on. It could be financial. There's lots of stressors out there. The ALT was it's a sign of fatty liver. So if your liver is storing fat, your metabolism is impaired. So here's some guided mindset practices. Refrain from cravings. Cravings aren't failures, they're signals. Instead of, I can't believe I did that again, try, my body is asking for fuel. Ask yourself, am I tired, stressed, hungry? Try breathing rituals before meals, like 3 to 5 deep belly breaths before eating. It helps calm cortisol and digest food better. So a deep belly breathe, now you want to be sitting or laying down when you do this because you could get lightheaded. Also do some gratitude journaling. I think gratitude makes such a world of difference for positivity in life and knowing that you are loved and that life is good. So write 3 things that you're grateful for at bedtime. I'm always grateful for, I have eyes that I can see. I have a brain that I can think. I have 10 fingers and 10 toes. I can walk and talk. I mean, there's just so many things. I have a roof over my head. I have a laptop. I have a computer. You know, I have a life that is more fortunate than most people. So, and I think a lot of people take that for granted. So write those 3 things that you're grateful for at bedtime. This calms your cortisol. It helps you sleep. It supports insulin sensitivity. Now let's talk about self-compassion affirmations. Use, I'm doing my best. When food choices, workouts, or fasting don't go as planned, you're doing your best, okay? So here's another action plan. Identify one myth you still believe from what we talked about earlier. Try a protein-first breakfast and note energy and insulin changes. Take a midday pause, 5 breaths before lunch. Walk after dinner for 10 minutes. Journal one thing you're proud of. You don't need perfection, just consistency. And how this fits into your metabolic mystery? We've busted myths, we've told real stories, we've simplified the science, we've given you concrete actions, and now we're going to dive into tying it all together, customizing protocols, tracking labs, and building a long-term strategy. But for now, internalize this. Eating healthy isn't a diet, it's biology. Moving regularly isn't punishment, it's permission. And insulin resistance is reversible if you meet it with understanding and not shame. So the Larson Health Podcast is brought to you by LarsonHealthWeightLoss.com, where we help thousands reverse metabolic disease one step at a time. So I want to talk about Diabetes Decoded, what doctors aren't telling you about insulin resistance. Up to now, we've covered what insulin resistance really is, how to reverse it with labs, diet, fasting, movement, and mindset, and shared powerful stories of transformation. In this final segment, we're diving into personalization, long-term strategies, and leaving you with inspiration and tools you can actually take home. So let's personalize your plan. One size does not fit all. You've heard the frameworks: eat protein plus veggies plus fat, schedule healthy fasts, move regularly, manage stress, but everyone's biology is unique. Here's how to tailor the strategies to your body, your labs, and your life. Labs and what they show you. So high fasting insulin plus your normal glucose indicates you're compensating but heading toward a diagnosis. Your first line of defense is protein forward meals, short fasts, and walking after meals. If you have a high HOMA-IR and high ALT, this suggests fatty liver and more cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower. Reduce your fructose, like from the sweet fruits, and add liver supportive supplements like milk thistle or NAC under guidance. An elevated HSCRP, which is chronic inflammation, you might benefit from omega-3s. There's a great omega-3 that I take that I love. It is so good. And if you want to know what it is, I can help you. Anti-inflammatory spices like turmeric, ginger with black pepper because it helps with better absorption, and daily stress tools. This is so important when you have chronic inflammation. And then hormone imbalances like PCOS or low estrogen. Modify your fasting window from 10-hour eating window, 14-hour fasting, and emphasize protein at breakfast and connect with your thyroid or hormone work. Make sure that you check it with your doctor and ask for a full thyroid panel. I was battling with Hashimoto's and had no idea. My doctor wasn't testing it properly. So I took the Function Health test. It's a test where you pay for the test, but you get over 120 different markers. And that's where I figured it out. And I've since been able to reverse it. High triglyceride HDL ratio means disrupted fat metabolism. Focus on healthy fats. Eliminate seed oils, which are, seed oils like sunflower oil, sesame seed oil, peanut oil, safflower oil. They're not good for you. Avoid refined carbs and add strength training. So I also give a simple customization table. So depending on whether you have high insulin or high LT fatty liver, HSCRP for inflammation, hormone imbalance like PCOS, fat metabolism dysfunction. So I'll put that all in the show notes. So think of this like building a car. You've got the engine, your liver, the fuel mix, your food, the exhaust system, your detox, and the steering, your stress and sleep. So you need to tune each one based on what your check engine light says, what your labs are telling you. That's your check engine light, okay? Long-term strategy, the 4 cycle. To prevent slide back and support lasting change, I use a simple cyclic framework with my clients. It's called the 4R strategy. First, remove. Remove inflammatory foods like sugar, grains, seed oils, processed snacks, and junk food. Remove over-restrictive diets that lead to binge patterns or chronic stress. Replace loaded proteins, non-starchy vegetables, and healthy fats, green veggies, wild-caught fish, avocado, extra virgin olive oil, and extra virgin coconut oil. And then restore. Strengthen your gut lining. Add fermented foods like sauerkraut, kefir, and kimchi. Add supplements if needed, probiotics, magnesium, omega-3s, vitamin D. Unless you live in Florida or sunny California, you need vitamin D, and it's so important. There was a study that showed that people who had COVID had really low vitamin D. So the people who actually passed away from it had really low vitamin D levels. If you want to stay healthy, get your vitamin D. The other one is reset. So reboot your metabolism with fasting, like a 14-10 or a 16-8 schedule. Build muscle and insulin sensitivity with strength resistance or HIIT. Prioritize sleep and stress management. Example cycle is like 6 weeks. Week 1 to 2, remove and replace. Weeks 3 to 4, restore gut health and targeted supplements. Weeks 4 to 6, reset, fasting and movement and sleep. And then take a maintenance week. Take it a maintenance week to reassess. Check your labs monthly or quarterly. Adjust the next cycle based on results. This repeated practice helps to build not just short-term improvements, but long-term metabolic resilience. So accountability structures. Change sticks when we make it social, measurable, and consistent. So the change will stick when you make it social, measurable, and consistent. So lab check-ins, monthly fasting insulin and home IR, movement tracking, use apps, reminders, wrist timers for hourly walks, nutrition logs, write your meals, protein and veggie ratio matters, community connection, partner up with somebody that you know that also wants to get out or that already gets out and you want to join them. Online accountability groups, coaching, that's what I do. Join me for some coaching and I can help you. One client, I'll call her Heather, struggled with consistency. She joined our challenge group and committed to walking with a friend three nights a week, tracked her meals and scheduled monthly labs. And within 4 months, her fasting insulin dropped from 16 to 6, and she lost 15 pounds without dieting. Tools you should use. A food scale, because it's an accurate portion control, builds awareness. You might think that you're getting a cup, but you're actually getting 2 cups. You might think you're getting half a cup and you're actually getting a cup. Look at the portion sizes. Like, I don't buy any packaged foods unless it's 3 bell peppers in a bag. And I typically don't buy them in a bag because I don't want the plastic. So lab reporting app, track insulin, glucose, CRP, ALT, fasting tracker apps or smart timers to log eating windows, and breathing apps like Breathe Plus or Calm for nightly guided relaxation. Also resistance bands or dumbbells for home-based strength sessions. You can find them used. Resistance bands are really affordable, and dumbbells can be found on resellers all over the place. Supplements, when and why. So supplements are not healers. They are supporters when used appropriately. Magnesium glycinate for sleep and insulin sensitivity. Berberine supports glucose transport, effective in PCOS cases. Omega-3 fish oil, I recommend this for everybody. It helps your brain, it helps your joints, it helps everything in your body. It fights inflammation and it supports fat metabolism. Alpha lipoic acid enhances insulin action and nerve support. Vitamin D for immune health and metabolic balance. Always check with your provider to ensure quality dosages and medical safety. And then sleep, stress, and hormones. Stress and sleep are metabolic game changers. Cortisol's role, if elevated at night, you'll feel wired, crave sugar, store fat easier. So stress reset tools, pre-bed breathing or yoga for 10 minutes, journaling and gratitude and wins. Establish screen-free bedtime 60 minutes prior to sleep. Sleep priorities, no electronics in the room dark, cool, and quiet. Wear socks as well, that's known to help. Consistent wake-up times, even weekends. Have consistent wake-up times. Many people say they sleep well until we look at quality. If their sleep is interrupted by work, kids, or screens, the recovery isn't real recovery. Track progress. Track over time, not day to day. Baseline metrics before starting. Fasting insulin, fasting glucose, A1C, HOMA-IR, triglycerides to HDL ratio, your ALT and HSCRP, your weight, your waist circumference, your mood, your energy, your cravings, self-rated 1 to 10, monthly check-ins, check your fasting insulin, just get, a little glucose monitor, mood, energy, cravings, journal it, and waist. Measure the difference between those and track them. A sleep tracker. Figure out how much you're sleeping each night and what is your, are you more of a person that stays up late and wakes up late, or are you going to bed early and wake up early? And then try quarterly labs. So try a full panel with lipid, liver, and inflammation. And habits compound over time, right? So tracking lets you see consistent change, often measured in labs before the scale even moves. So let me give you a final case study. It's a deep dive about Jillian, 50, postmenopausal. Jillian had gone through menopause at 48. Overnight, she experienced weight gain of 20 pounds, hot flashes, foggy thinking, blood sugar spikes after meals, labs at the start. Fasting insulin was 20, glucose 105. A1C was 6.0. Her HOMA-IR was 5.18. Her triglycerides to HDL ratio was 3.8. Her HSCRP was 3. So what did I do for her? The coaching plan was phase 1, weeks 1 to 2, remove seed oils and sugar, add eggs and avocado for breakfast, spinach and bean salad, salmon dinner. Phase 2, weeks 3 to 4, restore the gut with kefir, add magnesium and omega-3, and start journaling and nightly breathing. Phase 3, weeks 5 to 6, was begin the 14-10 fasting, 3 evening walks and strength training sessions 2 times per week. And then phase 4, week 7, was reassess labs and next 4-week cycle based on results. And the results at 16 weeks, fasting insulin was 7, A1C 5.4, HOMA-IR was 1.8, her triglycerides to HDL ratio was 1.5, HSCRP was 1.1. She lost 18 pounds. She said, I feel like I did when I was 35, not 50. My brain is clear and I'm not exhausted anymore. So here's some final encouragement and key principles. It's a journey. It's not a sprint. There is no overnight miracle. Growth is steady, small, sustainable changes over weeks and months. Your body is listening. Add protein, add walks, add calm, and your insulin responds fast. Labs don't lie. They don't judge. They simply tell the story. Let them be your guide. And you're not alone. We are thousands of people just like you, reversing metabolic disease with consistency and care. If you remember one thing today, let it be this. Your body wants to heal. It's not punishing you. It's sending signals that it needs help. Follow those signals. Show up with science-backed habits, tools, and kindness, and you will reverse insulin resistance. You will reclaim your energy, your clarity, and your life. This is the Larson Health Podcast, powered by LarsonHealthWeightLoss.com, where thousands have already started reversing metabolic conditions using our framework. If you're ready to take the next step, and I know deep down you are, visit the site, download your free resources, and let's work together to build your personalized path to health. I'm Kim Larson, certified integrative health nutritionist and Fast Like a Girl coach. Thank you for spending this hour with me, and share this episode with your friend. Subscribe so we can keep you going deeper, and I'll see you next Saturday at 10 a.m., 11 a.m. ET.